Turning the vision into a mission. This is Global Mission of Peace with the GoldFish Report, October 2nd, 2015. I am Radagast, and I am joined by Louisa, our media outreach.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
And Sanjay, the wonder from down under.
G'day.
And Sherry with the right to know.
Good day. Today is World Peace Day, and I'm celebrating my birthday, so great to spend it with everyone.
Congratulations.
And of course, we are with the ambassador, voice of the dragon. Welcome, ambassador.
Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about, United Nations and some other incidents that's happening in the world. So let's start.
Well, I think one of the things that we were talking about earlier was that there really is a momentum going on. You can see from the presentations and speeches at the United Nations that there is a shift and change going on, and that there's evidence of this all around us if we know what to look for. And there's all kinds of evidence. For instance, at this point, there's at least 16 countries in Europe that have banned the use of GMO seeds and food, and this is a momentum. I can tell you almost every day I look in the news and I'm seeing another country adding to the list. So this is this is evidence. And if you're looking for some big flash in the sky, that's not the way this is going to happen. We're doing it little by little by little, and this is really progress. So I think it's a wonderful sign that the shift and change is coming. The speeches at the UN were all extremely profound, and of course, I think Putin was his speech was the most memorable, because he's really trying to address this new world disorder that we have and trying to put things into perspective. And he's really trying to be the voice of reason among all of this insanity with Syria. So with that having said, I'm going to pass it over to Radagast to see how Radagast would like to comment, because he has lots of great info on how we're seeing what the evidence is of this shift and change that's happening right before our eyes. Radagast.
Well, one of the, I guess some good, it's a lot of good news, actually. And one of the things that's kind of dovetailing, again, we're with the ambassador, and the ambassador has been speaking for over a year now. And one of the earlier things he said was that people would need to spend more time with their families, and that would require at least a shorter work day, if not a shorter work week. And in the news today is that Sweden is basically moving, already some of its companies already have, but apparently it's moving as a country towards a 6-hour workday. And from what I can tell, that this is not with reduction of pay. So again, here we're seeing shift and change where the slavery of mankind is, the yoke is coming off. And so that's some positive good news. And as Louisa says, there is change afoot, but it's really like a changing of a tide. Whether you want to think the tide's coming out or going in, when that tide first changes, it isn't obvious. Usually you have to give it an hour or so before it's obvious. In this case, you might have to give it a month or so, depending, again. But the analogy is this tide has shifted, and it shifted this weekend. And I know it's funny, the weekend started off with the Pope being the big news, but it really turned out that what happened at the United Nations, the speeches of the USA and Russia and China, and the difference, the reception of Russia and China's leaders and what their message was, and then the messages of the U.S. and how, once upon a time, the U.S. was always the one that would give the good speech. Well, it seems like the tide has reversed, where Russia and China are being lauded for their vision and their wise words, and the United States is kind of being, called foolish for saying things that most people really don't believe anymore. It's kind of like they were trotting out propaganda. They were being belligerent while the two other big countries were speaking peace. The United States was speaking belligerently and hinting at war, and that they have the strongest military in the world, that if they have to use it, they will. This was completely out of sync with the message that was delivered this weekend. And this is a sign of the change, that the once great, champion of democracy is now seen as a warmonger and somebody who has to resort to lies to even try and give a speech where the other countries are speaking peace, win-win relationships, building economic partnerships, giving the small countries an equal say, respect for sovereignty, and then, of course, what's going on in Syria. I mean, since this past weekend, it's Friday now, it's been 5 days since the weekend has ended, and the world has shifted dramatically, including Sweden embracing a 6-hour workday. So the shift and change is upon us. Please look for it. I mean, it's huge. This is tectonic shift. This isn't like a little shift. Stuff is huge, and it's happening very rapidly.
I think this blood moon, what do you think, Radagast? I think this blood moon had something to do with it, because there was this energy and it just seemed like things shifted, that this new world disorder is really coming apart at the seams. And, finally we're starting to see some backbone. Putin's actually going in there and trying to get rid of these ISIS characters and explaining who they really are, how they were formed, and go in there and just wipe them out. And I'm so glad to see Putin taking action to do this, regardless of the propaganda that the United States and maybe other countries is trying to put out there to make it look like Putin has some other cards up his sleeve and some other agenda. But how did you want to comment on that?
It's interesting. I'm reading a little bit of this week. Today, Russia's attack on a command post killed very few Al-Qaeda leaders. What it did do was kill Turkish, Saudi, and Qatari officers, over a dozen, maybe more, according to Syrian reconnaissance units in the area. Now, of course, they were doing their bombing in Syria. What are Turkish, Saudi, and Qatari officers doing in Syria?
Exactly. And so with the shift and change, Sherry, have you noticed, what things have you noticed about the shift and change that you see happening yourself, that you can say and point to, this is part of the shift and change?
Yeah, we're definitely going through a transition right now. I think it's probably the most amazing time to be living on the planet. I think we're at a point where the light is winning out, has won, but we've got some people who've been in power who just want to hang on for dear life. So we have to keep working through this. Just speaking of the UN, I've got a couple of quick sound bites, and I want everybody to think about, listeners and my fellow co-hosts here, who said these words, who was speaking. One of the leaders of one of the countries says, we should be bound by common values and interests rather than ambitions against terrorism. He spoke of transparency and joint rules. He said, it seems that we are about to be faced with an accomplished fact that the rules of the game have been changed in favor of a narrow group of the privileged, with the WTO having no say. This could unbalance the trade system completely and disintegrate the global economic space. So who do you think that leader was? And then I've got a couple of other real quick ones for you. Who said those words? Pardon?
I think that was Putin. Was Putin.
Okay. You heard a speech, but that was Putin. And those were really nice words to hear. Now, here's a couple of other sound bites. The belief that power is a zero-sum game, that might makes right, that strong states must impose their will on weaker ones, that the rights of individuals don't matter, and that in a time of rapid change, order must be imposed by force. On this basis, we see some major powers assert themselves in ways that contravene international law. We see an erosion of democratic principles and human rights, internal repression, foreign aggression. Let's remember how this started. Well, let me hold on that one. So those that you just heard, I wonder what country someone was speaking of.
Actually, it sounds like Jeb Bush. It sounds like Jeb Bush talking. Was that Jeb
Sounds like they're
Bush?
talking about China.
Sounds like they were talking about China. Okay, to me it sounds like they're speaking about the United States, right? About, let's just say, the cabal, not we the people. Okay, let's just say the rights of individuals don't matter. Okay, no, but that was Obama speaking, pointing the finger at everybody else. And I'm not saying I dislike the man. There's something about him I do like, okay? But I'm just saying that is, you can see him sitting down at a conference table with these other people writing the speech and talking about, and here's the last thing I'm going to close with. For example, putting thoughts and even propaganda, we have to be aware of that, in people's minds. Okay, so he said, let's remember how this started. He was talking about Assad. Let's remember how this started. Assad reacted to peaceful protests by escalating repression and killing that in turn created the environment for the current strife. Okay, so what I'm saying here is that is a perfect soundbite, well thought out, to put out to the people to make sure that everyone is very clear that let's remember how this started. Do you know what I mean? We just have to be aware. I wish that people could just come out, forget the speeches being written, and just speak the truth. I wish, like a mother, I wish I could just get out there and say, hey, we're wasting all of our time. We have all this advanced technology. We can clean the earth up in no time. You guys are talking about this, and there's forced prostitution out there all over the planet, including in the U.S. Let's just stop it all. Quit playing the games.
And what you're saying, Sherry, is that there's forces controlling the narrative of everything that's all the world events, and that we have to wake up and be aware of this controlled narrative. Sanjay, how do you see the shift and change where you are in, thank you, Sherry. How do you see the shift and change where you are in Australia? What evidence, what events around you can you say, aside from the fact that the Australian stock market crashed today for, $60 billion crash, which has been up and down and up and down. It's like a roller coaster. But how do you see down there what the shift and change looks like?
Well,
at the beginning of it.
Down under.
The stock exchange crash was a small one because we had a bigger one on that Black Monday, which was 84 billion written off. But I think people are getting used to it because, we involve in all these wars everywhere, which is costing us lots of money. We're not creating jobs at home, right? And our mining industry has gone under. We don't really have any more new projects for things, which we need to have funds for that. We don't have funds for that. It's creating a massive problem, and the business confidence is down, and people are just not spending because they don't have the money. So people are suffering. And as Radiger said about the tide changing, well, this is a 70-year tide. For 70 years, the people have been enslaved, right? So now the time's come. So it took 7 years for this tide to come in. It's going to take some time for it to go out. So you might not notice everything straight away, but in the next month or so, things will start becoming more and more obvious. But what Putin's done and what China's done, I mean, you could clearly see these guys have stepped up to the mark. And as you know, that this is all going back to what Ambassador had said on this GoldFish report a couple of weeks back, asking these guys to step up and do the 555. Part of our global mission of peace. So these guys are doing it, and that's what needs to happen because, I mean, we've had for too long, we've had a bully, and about time the bully gets stopped.
Well, even Putin and the ambassador both said we need to put the weapons down, put the arms down, and let's come together. We have to end this. It's just insanity to keep this going, and it's not benefiting humanity. I wish humanity had some more ability to see this for themselves, to see that through the propaganda, to not trust government so much because they're dishonest, most of them. And so, but this is where the ambassador was phenomenal on Wednesday. I mean, he's usually wonderful, but he was phenomenal on Wednesday. I think everybody agrees with that this was just an incredible, speech that he gave. And it was so meaningful, and it really is echoing. It's really what the world leader should be saying. And so Putin did say some of this, in fact, in his speech. But the ambassador was just phenomenal. What can I say? It was, he hit the nail on the head in every single way. And then that's meaningful, talking about the world religions and talking about uniting them and putting the boundaries down and taking responsibility for yourself and stopping the war and stepping up to the plate. And people, we got such wonderful response from our last GoldFish report. And, at this point, I think I'd just like to pass it over to the ambassador, because I think he has a lot more to say today. He's muted.
Yes, I'm now unmuted. No, I was speaking today earlier with the Red Dragon, and we were going through the world events. And, and again, we were, referring to some incidents that, happened and that most people, were not aware was happening. And, for example, we had this huge asteroid that was passing by, and we just dodged the bullet, and everyone was so excited over that should hit the planet and kill many people. And we had all these people that were preparing the smorgasbord for a long time to justify their aggression on the people in the Middle East. And what happened is suddenly that someone stepped in and just ripped the table in front of them. And now what people needs to learn and understand is that we've been for over 2 years programmed every day, daily, about how terrible this ISIS is and how terrible all these fundamentalists people are. And I think it's important for people to start looking themselves in the mirror. And at the same time doing that, remember, okay, and now this is very, very important, is to remember what was said, okay? And now remember what is now being said in our propagandist media, okay? Today, people stated that, unfortunately, on CNN, unfortunately, we were being, ISIS-backed, American ISIS-backed is being bombed, whatever. Okay, yes, ISIS was created by the West, as all Taliban and Mujahideen and Hezbollah was, created, thanks to different type of organizations. And same thing is like Hamas. People don't remember, actually, it was the Mossad that created Hamas as an adversary against PLO. And then now every day we hear how terrible Hamas is. And the thing is this way, that we have to realize that all these terrorist organizations was created by the West to justify their thefts that was going on all around the world. And when we are seeing these atrocities happening to humanity, we have to remember the history. Just like he said, we have to remember how it started. Yes, we remember how it started. It started at the time of Reagan, when they start funding the Taliban, when the Saudis were put into a system. And now we saw today that it was some Saudi man also that has been raping some girl in LA, I think, and has been escaping the country. And this is happening all over the world now, that people start seeing, the atrocities of what was seeded inside Islam. Okay. And people are talking, Muslim has been demonized during all these years. Islam has been demonized by the same people creating that Islam brand that we see today. And it was created by who? Those who, basically conspire against us. Okay? And basically that's the cabal. And they are Christians, they are Muslims, they are Jewish people inside of these institutions that has been traumatizing the planet for so long. Now, what we need to remember, now I'm again, putting this forward, because unfortunately what I see that many people have a very short memory span, okay, is that everyone wanted to go in to take out ISIS. Now, actually, someone is doing it. And things that we have to remember is that we've been having a bomb campaign of this so-called Khorasan and other terrible terrorist organizations that doesn't exist. And, it was no progress being taken. And suddenly, offices and places and headquarters are being blown up. And America and Israel and Europe is going, traumatized and stating, oh, they're attacking, the good terrorists. Now, the thing is this way. If someone use violence, if someone walks as a terrorist, act like a terrorist, okay, he is a terrorist. Doesn't matter what color he supports or who's funding him. Okay. Now, as I said before, the people needs to choose who is their leaders, not United States, not European Union, not Putin, not Chinese Prime Minister. None of them are the ones choosing their leaders. What we need to do is disarm these people, and we need to allow the people to themselves to decide. Okay. Now we saw that the Chechens is also start joining with the infantry divisions, and they are also Muslims. They were traumatized by terrorism and traumatized by war for a very long time. Now these nations are flourishing. And I think that this is what we need to do. All the nations, especially so-called Muslim nations, doesn't exist any on the planet, but let's say that there are people inside of these nations that are majority Muslims. They need to step up to remove this virus planted there by these people that is conspiring against them. And the thing is this way, is that in this time when we are talking about setting humanity free, I think that all religious fundamentalists, doesn't matter which brand you belong to, needs to step aside, okay, and allow the spirit and the values of the Creator to have its forefront, and not force your belief system on other people, okay? In many nations, where they're enforcing this, they have to go back to the second surah in the Quran where it says, it's no force inside religion. That means that the person themselves have to decide if they want to be religious or not be religious. You cannot force your will on others. And as it's stated in the Quran by God to Prophet Muhammad, that you are a messenger, you're not the watchman of the people. Okay? So if a prophet of God and the creator of Islam is not the watchman for the people, who the hell are you guys being watchmen of the people, forcing religion on people and their so-called religious values? Now, it was an article, very interesting, about the Iranian indoor football soccer team winning some championships. And people are very upset because 8 of these so-called women were not women, they were transvestites. There are men that has been becoming women, and now everyone is very upset because this is not fair, because this is actually not women, it's actually men. And now the whole world started realizing, oh God, Lord, there's a lot of transvestites in Iran. And that is actually approved and accepted by the government there. You know, we always see how homosexuals are being hanged and how they're being, you know, hunted in Iran and whatever. And now we have all these transvestites in our face all the time. Now you have to ask yourself a question. Now this should be an eye-opener. You know, the thing is this way. Again, we're talking about hypocrisy, okay? Now, if someone wants to be a homosexual, that's his personal decision, okay? It's not up to the state. It's not up to anyone. It's up to between him and the Creator, okay? Now, for example, you say it's okay to be a transvestite, but suddenly it's not okay to be a homosexual. People is now in the West being very upset about these transvestites from Iran. But, I mean, they should be celebrating. You know, look, Iran is much more further advanced than even the Western countries so when it comes to transvestites and sex changes. Now, don't think that I'm a person that now sitting promoting sex changes and this type of things. I'm just giving you as an eye-opener to what's really is happening around the world. Okay? I believe in freedom of will, that people can do exactly as they like, as long as they don't hurt other people. And that is what we need to respect. Okay, we need to respect purpose's own integrity. And we see that in every nation, how they try to somehow control us. And they like to tell us, and they want to demonize people. Like, for example, they want to say that, you know, the Pope is the red dragon, for example, and you know, he's the Antichrist. And I would be very disappointed with Satan if that's the best he can, you know, gather. You understand? And the thing is this way, we have to start looking what he's teaching or what he was talking about during his speeches reflects what I think is the teachings of Jesus. Okay? And so how in that could that be that he's an antichrist? You know, if you're not supporting the military complex, if you are supporting giving money to all people, if you're fighting financial tyranny, if you're doing all these different things, then you suddenly are an antichrist. Now, I think that people need to remember the teachings of Jesus, like I was preaching now the teachings of Prophet Muhammad. And basically in Christianity, Jesus said, treat people the way that you yourself want to be treated. And this is what we need to now respect. We all want to be treated with dignity. So when a refugee comes, we need to treat him with dignity, because would you like to be treated like they've been treated? People say they are escaping for the failed societies. We failed their societies. That's why they are here in the first place. Okay? People say that they're not happy in their nations. How come? They're not happy in their nations because we have interfered in their nations for too long. Okay? We need to remember the history. Like Obama said, we have to remember the history. We have to stop being short-memored like we are, unfortunately. Just like goldfishes, having a short memory span. I remember when they were accusing Ahmadinejad that he was hiding Osama bin Laden in Tehran. Okay? And that ignorant person from ABC News, I think it's was doing this interview, and he thought he was, very good, and he was so retarded, and he was going on and whining about how he was in Iran, and Ahmadinejad said, no, he's in Washington D.C. He's there with his good friends, the Bushes. Okay, no, he's not. No, you don't mean that, And then, they were accusing Iran for hiding Osama bin Laden. And then next month, supposedly Osama bin Laden was killed in Pakistan by this SEAL Team 6. And Obama was taking the glory for that. And people didn't remember that the same people in the speech, he said, we know for 6 months where he was, and we did the intelligence and we took him out. So why did you guys blame him 1 month, Ahmadinejad in Iran 1 month before, for that he was hiding in Tehran when he was 6 months in Pakistan? But the goldfishes doesn't remember very well. Okay? Because they are used to that we are so disinformed, that we are having such short memory span. So that they just threw any form of lie straight in our face and we believe it. Some people is upset because I was calling Donald Trump a chihuahua. Okay? Now, what do I mean with that he is a chihuahua? He's like a little barking dog there pretending to be very big and strong. I see the fear in his eyes. Does it mean that he himself is a bad person? I don't say maybe he's not the bad person, but he's a chihuahua. Everything he's doing is just barking. And he's very successful in his barking because he represents so much negative vibrations and fear that has been placed by the American government into its people for so long time. Will he be a liberator for the people that believes now he is the coming Messiah? I don't know. But he's a businessman. He might do some good decisions if he's not entangled too much with the cabal. So I don't say that he might not be a good leader. I'm just saying that when I see the fear in his eyes as he had, I'm worried if he really will be a good leader, because he's more like a chihuahua than a pit bull to me. Okay? Now when we look at the situation, okay, with other presidential candidates, which is quite a sorry bunch of idiots, and when people say, oh, you're very hard on these people. No, when we see a brain surgeon, okay, being basically so ignorant as he is, I wondered how he possibly could learn to be such a good surgeon as people claim him to be. Okay? Now the thing is this way. We don't want any more puppets. That's what I'm trying to say. That's why I'm calling them idiots. Because instead of stepping up to be leaders, they're basically just a bunch of followers. And if you like dogs, you tell them, jump. They ask how I should jump. Whiff your tail a little bit. They behave just like dogs. So when I'm using the dogs as a reference to the politicians, I do it in a very deep meaning, because they behave just like dogs. And basically what they should be is more maybe like wolves, okay? And lead their own pack in the right direction, okay? And this is the important thing here for us to all look at. is that when I see the future of Europe and America, I see two versions. One is that humanity will set itself free and become a free, powerful trading nation. With all the knowledge and skills that we have, we could still be beacons shining. Always stay back in the darkness of ignorance, okay? And allow our governments to enforce a new form of tyranny on us and allow them to rape us in every way, financially and legally, in every way to do. So now we're going to have a shift and change where the United States and Europe is going to turn into the East Bloc, and the East Bloc going to turn into what West used to be for another 70 years. I do not believe in this polarization of yin and yang in these senses. I believe that we are now stepping in to the new era. And in this era, we need to find the Buddha mindset, okay, where we basically are enlightened, when we are flowering just like a plum blossom and come up to the mindset of the Buddha, and where we basically the triangles and squares and circles is one single thing. We need to be in a spirit where our mind, body, soul, and mind is one entity. And we have to stop being polarizations as we have been. And we have to stop with this good and bad mentality all the time and try to see the good in all of people. I see good things in everyone, but also I see bad things. And the thing that traumatizes me most of the time is that the people who are good choose to be bad. And that's where we need to step out today, to look ourselves in the mirror and say, what can we do for our nation? What can we do for humanity? Not what the nation should do for us and what the humanity will do for me. We need to stop with this escapism, this religion that is so rooted founded in people. Okay, we need to remove from that and step into a society of personal responsibility, where we ourselves become leaders by setting good examples. And that's the whole mindset for the global mission of peace. When we turn the vision into the mission, is to basically be allowing ourselves, okay, to become leaders in joint venture with others and cooperate to make a better world. A lot of people over 1 year of time I've been giving me my speeches. They have been going about but asking me questions over and over again about the RV, the dinars, the dongs, all these other escapisms, and all the other type of saving situations, the Swiss Indians of the world, and all this other type of characters who comes out and claim that they're going to give you free money. Okay? This form of situation needs to be taken care of. Why should we give you guys free money? Now, what do I mean with that? I mean that humanity, we are trained, all of us are trained, okay, to have this form of mindset through religion. But humanity is created to struggle. You know, we are created to struggle for food. We are created to do things to getting a partner. We are created to struggle in everything we do. And when humans are struggle, we become as the best. When we're sitting on our fat asses, looking at TV, and don't do anything, just eat donuts, we are killing ourselves. And so that's why I'm stating that we can create everything. You know, the American dream was to create your own business and have a nice house and nice things and create yourself and flowering yourself up to become a great person. That was called American dream, that everyone had the right and possibility to do so. How come that the world today just want to have free money? You understand? Without any struggle. If we need immediate satisfaction, and if we don't get immediate satisfaction, and we cannot see the big picture anymore, we need to be thrown something in our face to wake up. That needs to be changed. We need to start actually become struggling human beings again. I don't mean suffering, and also the word suffering means that you consent to it, but what I mean, we should not need to be traumatized, but we need to make an effort for our own standard of living. but making our standard of living better because we pay to our government's taxes. And they are responsible to provide services to us for our contributions to them. And it's nothing wrong to help the weak people. The weak people should be helped. Okay? But many of us are not weak. We are ultimately strong. So we should not allow ourselves to be victims and feeling weak and not strong. This thing that I have seen so much time during this time, I've been talking to many people. I see comments all the time repeated from people that have a memory span like a goldfish, people that that have a victim mentality. Always they're a victim for something, and the only way they can console with people is just being in the victim role. We are victims because we consent to it. Let's continue the struggle. Let's win this struggle against ignorance. Let's win this struggle against financial tyranny. Let's win this struggle for humanity once and for all. Don't put all your hopes in a spaceship, in a return of a Jesus that's supposed to rapture you, or anyone else. He would be very happy to see you shorten the years of tribulation and fulfill that prophecy, rather than that he needs to step in to save us every time we make a mess. Okay, with that, I would like to thank for my little rant for today. And if anyone else has something to say, please feel free.
Thanks, Mr. Ambassador. Again, just really profound message that we're trying to wake people up, and that's what we do on the Goldfish Report. And what you can do to follow us, you can go to thegoldfishreport.com. You can also go to www.globalmissionofpeace.com. And if you'd like to know more about us, and the ambassador talked about the comments that are made in the section of some of these videos, you can see that there's many people who really get what's going on and get what the ambassador is saying. And then there's just some people who just don't seem to get it. And that's okay. It's just that, I think what the ambassador is embodying here is, you can see he's really a masterful critical thinker. He's not just looking at the media and believing what they're telling us, that how they're controlling the narrative like Sherry was talking about, but that this is the true art of discernment. And this is not easy. We're all really trying to learn how to discern. And it's not easy because there's just a lot of disinfo out there. And so I hope that when you come to the Goldfish Report, you realize that we have no agenda other than peace, and to really kind of read between the lines and discern what's really going on in the world, so that you can be better informed. Because this is really ultimately about quality of life for all of us. And really what the ambassador is saying is, we really have to choose love to make this shift and change on this planet. Because really, there's, if you want more war, then you keep doing the same thing. Don't change anything, because it will not change. If you don't step up and, like the ambassador said, look within yourself and see what you can do to make the change, and don't think that one person can't make a difference, because we have seen many, many times in our Earth history that one person has had significant changes, has made significant changes, like Mahatma Gandhi and Dorothy Day, and many, many people who have stepped up. And there's just too many to mention. But I think with that, I'd also just like to say, please keep your comments coming, and by all means, post this report, share it with your friends, post it wide, circulate it, so that we can, spread this mission of peace, and hopefully, get more subscribed. Please feel free to subscribe to our channel. And if you want to really know intimately what we're all about, please join us on our symposium, which we have weekly. You can register at thegoldfishreport.com for the symposium, or you can visit us at www.cbcglobaleducation.com, and I will put these links in the description section. And with that, I want to ask if we have any closing comments from Radagast.
No closing comments other than a brilliant job by the ambassador once again on getting a powerful and uplifting message out.
Thank you, Radagast. And everybody's contributions on the panel are just so thought-provoking, and they really contribute to helping. It's not just the ambassador's point of view. There's many people here, and we have guests that come on, and so you can see that there's everybody's point of view does count, and we try to share that and put it, again, it's the art of discernment. And Sherry, what would you like to close with?
Well, today is World Peace Day. It's also Gandhi's birthday. You'd mentioned him. It's the birthday of Charlie Chaplin, the birthday of Groucho Marx, the birthday of Sting, an incredibly talented musician, people who have brought some amazing love and talent and enlightenment to our world. And it's also my birthday today, so I'm really happy to share that. And just, I love my birthday. It's a day I allow myself to do whatever I want, whenever I want, and I'm just like so happy. And the reason I'm saying that is because I think, and I even got up early this morning. I was at yoga class at 7 a.m. And I think that if everybody shifting into this new paradigm, if we have the freedom to do what we want, when we want, I think that we're going to be okay. I think we've been so programmed that you have to work between these hours and put in this many hours and struggle and sweat. That's not it at all. I think we would accomplish more in the world. I know myself, if I had the freedom more and even the financial freedom more, I want to help people. I want to help people, help people. And I know if everybody else out there, there's so many others who do want to do the same, whether it's through your talent as a musician, Radagast, Louisa, or speaking, words of compassion, the ambassador, or I know 3 people right now who have cancer, and I know that we have the cure to that, and I just want to help people. So I just say, raise your vibration, have fun like I do on my birthday, and namaste.
I have some last words to say to everyone, okay? And that's basically one thing, okay? And that's peace, okay? And on this World Peace Day, I want to make a reminder to the people that conspire against humanity, okay? Find peace before it's too late. With that, I will say goodbye.
It's very true. Thank you so much. And really, there's no greater voice of peace on this planet right now than the ambassador, from what I can see. And we're just really, really glad and very privileged to be part of this mission and to be part of this message of peace. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for joining us. And this concludes this edition of the GoldFish Report.